Okay, so the Nigeria's Central Bank Chief Godwin Emefiele's tenure formally expired the last month of February. So we're trying to take a look at what happens to the Central Bank and the chief moving forward after these general elections. But let's try to track what Emefiele and the Central Bank and, of course, the Buhari's administration should be doing moving forward, taking a look back at what was achieved by the Central Bank chief over the last 5 years. Of course, he was appointed just before the new administration came into office. But, again, it was him that oversaw Nigeria's response to the oil price crash, spiraling inflation, exchange rate pressure, sharp fall in FX inflows, and Nigeria's delisting back then from JP Morgan Emerging Markets Bond Index. Under the Emefiele's tenure, Nigeria also navigates the uncertainties that trail the historic change or government transition of 2015. And those policies are from the financial regulator also helped manage the brutal 2016 economic recession through to 2017. In terms of the Nigeria's balance of payments, the central bank managed the restoration of Nigeria's current account to a surplus position and reduced the country's monthly import bill from $655 million to about $160 million. Go back to the FX market and you see the Naira value, which was boosted to about 360 to a dollar as we speak, from about 520 in the early days of 2016. And of course, it's been stable through the 2019 general elections. And Nigerians will be looking at the Emefiele's tenure again through the prism of the I&E window, what you call the investors and exporters window, which has resulted in inflows of over $25 billion into Nigeria in just about 3 years since the I&E window was created. And that goes with the massive accretion into Nigeria's FX reserves from about $23 billion in October 2016 to nearly $48 billion at the middle of last year. In the broader economy, the central bank under Godwin Emefiele has also put billions of naira in support of large-scale agri financing via the Anchor Borrowers Program, creating millions of jobs for peasant farmers and others within the value chain. So let's have a bit of a conversation of Emefiele's footprints, and now that the new administration is continuing in office for another 4 years. Paul Alaje is an economist, a senior economist, as it were, from SPM Professionals, live to us from our Abuja studios. We'll have an extended conversation a little bit with Paul and later within the hour. But let's start with you, Paul. Good morning. It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning.
So the elections are over, but again, one of the members of President Buhari's cabinet, of course, is having his first cabinet meeting today after the elections, is Godwin Emefiele, of course, who will be at today's meeting. What's your take on his footprints or his 5-year tenure at the head of the central bank?
Yeah, he came at the period where the Apex Bank was faced with a lot of challenges. It came at a time where Naira has been over-defended. And for me, that was a major test of his capacity. When he came, Naira was, shortly after he came to office, Naira was having free fall, although we kept the official rate at 197, 199. But most of us understood that that was not realistic. Mr. Godwin Emefiele was faced with the decision either to float Naira or to keep it fixed. It was a tough decision. Many economics and analysts were screaming, let us go float. And I supported the decision he made, although very unpopular then, that as an economy that was not producing enough, how do you float your currency permanently? He took a decision to do some sort of devaluation, I guess with the approval of the commander-in-chief. At some point, Naira went to 250, less than 4 hours after the decision was taken, to reflect the reality of what we have. And later, he went to as high as 360 and back to what you have on official window at 305, 306, as the case may be. The good news is that the BDC window and all the parallel market generally, Naira was heading for 1,000 Naira. It was above 500 Naira. Today, there is no uncertainty regarding what exchange rate will be. We know if you are running a parallel market, you'll be averaging 360. And if you are looking at official window, CBN rate will be 305. The convergence before from 197 to about 500 was just too high. We're hoping to converge. But today, there seems to be stability around what exchange rate it is. Now, before the administration, the incumbent administration came on board, Mr. Emefiele has rolled out a program with the former administration of 220 billion naira to empower mostly women and youth. That fund has also been transformed or reformed to part of the program that CBN is intervening in. And if you have, I mean, the CBN intervention that we witnessed, a lot of us have actually questioned, should CBN be intervening in what is happening to the economy? But the truth is that without the intervention, the unemployment figure could have been crazier than what we see now.
Just a second.
It could have been worse than what we see now.
Yes, Paul, but let's stick with the market street a little bit and try to expand a little bit what you just said about managing the brutal FX period of 2015 and 2016. Of course, a bit of that into 2017 as well, with the economy taking a nosedive. The oil prices were down. We had a backlog of unpaid FX bill with the international airlines and others north of double digits in billions of dollars. So what does this say about the capacity of the Central Bank of Nigeria at that point in time to manage this very crunching problem with the FX for a new administration, which is coming from being an opposition to being a government in power?
Nigeria does not have capacity to determine what FX will be. The only power we have is what is accountable for 90% of our revenue, I mean government revenue, which is the crude oil. So if the global crude oil prices is going down, and on the other hand, we had insurgents or we had militant activity reducing our output. When you combine that together, revenue will shrink both on price line on output line. So CBN had little or nothing it could do, and you could see MPR has been at 14%, longest ever. You can also add that to the committee chaired, I mean monetary policy committee chaired by Mr. Emefiele. They had little options. They were faced with very little options, and they went with the best option. If you are not the good option, we will not be talking about stability, overall stability in the monetary arm. And you saw that at some point, it's as if monetary part of the economy was even running activity in the fiscal arm. And if you have listened to Mr. Emefiele consistently, while I'm not his spokesperson, but I'm taking time to listen to the communique issued after every MPC, he has also said that those who are responsible in fiscal arm should brace up so that we can both reap all effort happening with at the monetary policy level, so that we can have an intersection between monetary and fiscal arm. So we have global oil crisis. It's led Nigeria into recession, major recession. We have companies posting negative stuffs, and the stock exchange crashed. So many things happened to Nigeria at the same time. But it was persistent. It was tenacious with his policy and his team. They saw it through, and Nigeria came out on the other side where we have light. So that's where we are today. I think he has given his best. He has tried, but given the condition, given the Nigerian condition, and I think he has really tried. For me, the kind of decision he took, they were not easy at all. Okay. So many persons were speaking from left, right, and center. We need to devalue this currency.
Paul,
there were several meetings with IMF who also said Nigeria should devalue. Yeah, it looks good theoretically. But in application, I'm happy he stood his ground.
Yes, we did.
And Nigeria did
Paul,
not devalue.
yes, we did some devaluation. We did some devaluation. Naira is no longer today where it was in 2014, 2015. But again, if you look at the transition of Godwin Emefiele from a previous administration to the current administration, what does this say about Mr. President himself, who keeps the central bank governor from a previous administration into the new one, and both of them never seem to have had any disquiet between themselves that anyone could point to within the last 4 years of the president being in the saddle and Emefiele being in the office for 5 years?
Yeah, I saw him as someone with emotional intelligence and also a negotiator. Most of the appointees of the former administration were not in office, not all of them, but he's one of the lucky persons who has also gone beyond luck and to also prove that he has capacity and competence. I had my fears when he was appointed as somebody who I don't see as an economist, but he really disproved that, believed that, don't worry, even though I might not be entrenched as economists, I've managed a bank before, I can also do my best with the central bank. And he has done his very best for us to have the kind of thing we have given the Nigerian condition.
Okay, so I'm sure this time, 5 years ago or 4 years ago, Godwin Emefiele was not the man many Nigerians want to hear his name around breakfast, lunch, or dinner table because it was hitting everybody. Import bill was high, it was bringing it down. Then he hit the 41 items, as it were. Then the whole place went on fire. He was the man, most likely the most hated Nigerian, when he rolled out the 41 items. Now we're talking about 42 items. And the way everything's been quiet on the executive side, it looks like perhaps he's hitting the right note, at least with the office of the president and everyone else.
Yes, the 41 item came as a shock, but not totally as a shock. And I also believe that Mr. Emefiele has made a beautiful presentation to the president and his team for them to buy into his idea. And I think going forward, several CBN governors, there was a time Nigeria was going to go into redenomination, not revaluation, redenomination of currency. And the then CBN governor, I think, did not really have this agreement with the head of state as of then. But he came with a policy, and I think that he has tried his best to explain for the executive to buy into it. 41 items came. It's not that people cannot access it, but you cannot access through any of the windows, either import-export or even parallel market. The same is happening now to those that wants to import extra material to Nigeria. And if you look at these items very carefully, they are items that can help us reduce our marginal propensity to import. One of the things that kept our currency permanently down and put pressure on our foreign reserve is because of these items that Nigerians ordinarily should have capacity to produce. And I also believe it's working alongside with Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, because if you look at the actors within the sector, those who could actually give problem or raise eyebrows, I think Mr. Emefiele, covertly, without coming to the media to talk about it, must have done his primary assignment. I gave it to him as somebody who is talking less but doing more. I think that's how I can summarize most of the things he did while he was in office.
Paul Alaje, thank you very much from SPM Professionals, a senior economist. Thank you.